Hey everyone, welcome to the Native Wellness Power Hour. Here we are in week 16. I can't believe that. My name is Jillene Joseph, and I am the Executive Director of the Native Wellness Institute. I'm also one of the founders of the Native Wellness Institute. I come from the Aani people of Fort Belknap, Montana, and we want to welcome you to our Power Hour. And today I'm interviewing our special guest.
Hello everybody, I'm Will Penn from the Squaxin Island tribe and the Quileute tribe. Both tribes are people of the water. Both tribes are fishing tribes. The Quileute tribe is an ocean-going society. Along with fishing, they formerly used to do whaling, and I come from a whaling family.
Awesome. I'm glad you said that because I was thinking of that. So here we are with our daily Power Hour, and this is the Native Wellness Institute's response to the pandemic. So the Native Wellness Institute is a national nonprofit organization. We like to say that we're a social profit because we benefit society. This year, in the middle of this pandemic and revolution and all of that, we're celebrating our 20th year. And we exist as an organization because of the lasting impacts of historical and intergenerational trauma. And more importantly, we exist to help our people learn the information and learn about the lasting impacts of that trauma, and then to help our people heal and move forward from that. So we know that healing is the answer to trauma, and we knew that in a pandemic, our people, and already traumatized people, would be re-traumatized. And so we went into action very fast, and we started these daily Power Hours. So we come to you 7 days a week. We have workshops, we have panel interviews, we have storytelling, comedy, song, like all kinds of things. Just to bring some uplifting and positive messaging during this pandemic. So thanks for tuning in today. We encourage you to share it so other people can tune in, and especially for today. So I'm going to be interviewing Will about his healing journey through cancer. So we're just going to dive right in. Oh, well, we also want to thank our sponsors. So Indian Collective, they're actually doing some awesome work in Indian country, and please check them out. On Wednesday, they're going to have a webinar about the mascot issue, some of the protests that were happening at Mount Rushmore over the weekend, and just some information about social justice in general. So please check them out, their webinar coming up, I think it's on Wednesday, but you can go to Indian Collective, their website, and for more information. So we're going to dig right in. Will, so you are I call you a two-time champion cancer survivor, and today we're going to be talking about your second healing journey through cancer. But before we get started and I ask you questions about that, do you just want to share a little bit more about yourself?
As I said, I'm from the Quileute and Squaxin Island tribes. I grew up bouncing back and forth between those two reservations. One is located in La Push, Washington. The other one is Camelchie, Washington. A little ways out of kind of in between Shelton and Olympia area, and both of them on the water, like I said before. Once I was able to, I grew up as a commercial fisherman. My dad had a stroke when I was quite young, so and then became a commercial fisher person, and bringing in the funding for the family was so I started fishing like when I was around 6.
Wow, that's awesome. So and you're a veteran.
I'm a veteran, 10-year veteran, Army combat medic. Got to see a little bit of the world by joining the Army, and I really enjoyed my time when I was there, and just like the stuff that's going on now, with this revolution, with everything that's going on, the Army has its share of systemic racism. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then you've served on tribal council.
I served I got to serve on both tribal councils. I got to serve on the Quileute Tribal Council and the Squaxin Island Tribal Council, and that was a blessing to do so, to represent my tribe in that capacity.
Okay, cool. So I think all these parts are important. I think. To
Oh,
your
that other thing,
journey.
yeah, the other thing I was the tribal health director for 3 different tribes.
Okay, awesome. So let's go back a couple of years, because on March 8th, you were 1 year cancer free this past March. So yay! So we're just gonna back up a couple of years and go back to the beginning. Like, what did you first notice when you thought something was happening inside of your body?
More headaches were more intense, and I began bleeding from. First, it was my gums, then it was my scalp, and then sometimes through my sweat.
Mm-hmm. And then before that, it was the bruising.
Yeah, before that, it was, I forgot about those, the bruisings. And the first time, I had all these bruises for no reasons. The first time I had cancer, and it scared me quite a bit. But the second time I got cancer, I noticed these bruises, and was doing a lot of yard work and trying to stay in that positive mindset. Trying to blame it on something else, so
Yeah.
that's him. I don't recall the bruises. So
Well, I do. So I remember it was a Wednesday. Like, I remember the days. It was a Wednesday, and they were like cutting down trees and doing all this stuff. And he came up and he showed me this bruise he had, like up down by his ankle. And so this was like a Wednesday afternoon. And I said, "Oh, you must have got poked by a branch or something like that." Because they were hauling off like pickup loads of branches and trees and all this kind of stuff. And but I think like you already knew at that time.
Oh yeah.
And then I was like, oh yeah, and I wasn't even thinking cancer at all. I was just thinking, like, literally, I thought, you got poked. So that was Wednesday, and then Thursday, like the yard work and all that continued. But on Thursday he came and he had another bruise like on his chest. So he showed me this bruise on his chest, and he didn't mention cancer or anything. And so the Thursday bruise, I was just like, something different was in my mind, but I was still like, oh, you must have got poked. You must have got poked by a branch there too. But then my mind started thinking something could be different. And then Friday, then you had another bruise. And so then I was like, okay, we need to go in.
Well, the bleeding of the gums got worse and worse too. So that's what scared the younger kid, the younger.
Yeah. Well, that was after, I think, when we came back. Because
it was all during the
was it? Yeah. So he was like bleeding from the gums, and then he had bleeding from his head.
Remember the pillowcases?
Yeah. So he went to the doctor on a Friday. They took blood work, and then they said they would call with the results. So then what happened?
Well, on Saturday night, my phone rang like at 2:00 in the morning, and who's calling me at 2:00 in the morning? So I just let it go to voicemail, and I got up the next morning and checked my voicemail, and it says, "William Penn, you need to get to the emergency room now."
Yeah, I remember that Saturday we were babysitting the grandkids. They had come over like at 8 in the morning, and I was with them in the living room playing, and then Will came down. It was about 10, and just the look on his face, I was just like, something is different. And then he told me, and then so I woke up the kids. I go, you guys got to watch the grandkids. And then we left and we went down to the ER. And then what happened?
Then we got there. They took some more lab work, and then I got like 2 or 3 units of blood that day. They got sent home, and they said.
Well, we were there. You were there all day.
All day. Yeah, was there definitely all day, and then they said.
They said no one was saying the cancer word or anything, right? Nobody, like, the lab people said, well, we can't give you the results, all this kind of stuff. So we still didn't know, like, what was going on, but they gave him blood, and that was gonna help give him more platelets to stop some of the bleeding that was happening. So we were there from like 10:30 till like 5:30 p.m. And then they just said to wait for the results. So that was a Saturday. And then we waited Sunday. Oh, and then what happened?
Well, they someone called and said they're trying to get a bed or something like that. I forgot what the actual words were.
Yeah, they called and said that. Well, we were waiting for the results, and they said they called back on Monday and said, oh, we have to transfer your case to a different hospital. Because we were out, because we asked what ER do we go to, so they said go to this hospital, so we did, and then that hospital called back and said, well, we have to transfer you to this other hospital, so you have to wait for a call back from them. So we're like, okay, so now it's like Tuesday, and like we're still waiting, and then finally they called and said, okay, you have an appointment at 10 a.m. on Wednesday. So we go
up at OSHU.
Yeah.
Oregon.
OHSU, Oregon Health Sciences University. So we go there for his 10 a.m. appointment, and then how did that go? So no one is still saying cancer this whole time. Like nobody is saying cancer. We're still just waiting to see what's going on.
Well, we get up there, and that's when I call it dropping the bomb. They said your cancer has come back, and basically for me to get the exact same cancer was 1 in 22 million or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
what is the cancer?
No, it was leukemia, APL, but it's the rarest of the leukemias, and
what was that like when? What was that day like when he said?
Well, by that time I had known, or like come to the realization. Well, actually, ever since the bleeding and the gums, the scalp and the gums, and it was like I had the thoughts of my cancer came back, and I just didn't know which kind of cancer it was going to be. But it was like. After going through this before, it was like, I had a notion, but she was staying positive. I wanted to stay positive, and we were gonna stay positive by all means, and that's what it was. And it's I'm a member of this cancer support group online, and I tell everybody, staying positive is half the battle, and it really is. And
so I remember that day when we went in for the appointment. So now we're like a week in. So it was like Wednesday when he first started noticing the bruise, and now it's the next Wednesday. Actually, it was the Thursday.
Oh, and to back up a little bit more, like I said, we were staying positive. So we're the C word wasn't allowed, and so what I did, well, okay, I'm just gonna keep busy, keep my mind occupied, keep my hands busy, and it was at the end of our hunting season, we always saved the grind meat to make our burger and sausage at the end of the season, and so I got out our grind meat. There's probably like 70 pounds of meat, and then you have to add we add pork shoulder to our grind meat, and so you have to add at least 30 pounds of pork shoulder, so it's like 100 pounds of meat that needed to be grinded. So all this is thawing out from Saturday, and now it's Wednesday. Now it's like grinding day. So
yeah. So well,
and our washing machine broke down, so that was going on as well.
Well, it was part of the story because from the Wednesday when he first started noticing the bruising. To that next Wednesday when we got the call that said, okay, your appointment's tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., which is a Thursday. So we had a meeting and told the kids what was going on, and told his family, told my family that we didn't know what was going on, but something was going on. And then we told like our support circles and just asked everyone to start praying. So I literally thought that whatever was happening in his body was going to be healed, and that when we went in for his appointment, like they were going to be like, oh wow, like everything's back to normal. That's what I thought was going to happen. I was just like, I just so believed that was going to happen. So we go in for his 10 a.m. appointment, and we're in the little, exam room or whatever, and we're just sitting there waiting, and he's just sitting there, and here comes the doctor, and well, first the nurse, comes in and does all that stuff, and then the doctor comes in, And so the first thing I noticed was like, oh my gosh, he looks like Bobby Flay from the Food Network. That was the first thing, like, oh my gosh, this is like a replica of Bobby Flay. And he comes in super nice, like, and he has a little smile on his face, and not like a big smile, but just a friendly smile. And he shakes our hands and introduces himself. He sits down and asks Will how he's doing.
Yeah, and his specialty is my type of leukemia. That's the only patients that he sees, and so I like when they told me I had a 1 in 22 million chance of getting the same cancer back, was like I won a lotto by getting him, and the location I was at, I think.
Yeah, for the care. So he just begins by telling Will, he basically, this is how I remember it, I don't know how you remember it, but he basically said, okay, well, I think he thought that someone had told us along the way that he had cancer, but nobody had still. But he basically said, okay, Will, well, you have cancer. We're going to admit you to the hospital today. You're going to start your treatments this evening. And our goal is to heal you from cancer. And Will was just sitting there.
It's a good goal.
Will was just like, he just sat there, like no response or anything. And then that was like the bomb for me. That was the bomb for me. I know it was for you as well, but I was just like, whoa. Like, and the tears just like literally fell out of my face. That has never happened before. They just like fell out of my face, and I'm just like, whoa. And I just said, okay, well, no one has said that yet. So, like, you know, give me a minute. And Will was just still sitting there, you know. And so, even though he was being positive, like, he was still preparing himself, I think. So then what happened?
Well, the difference between, the big difference between this cycle and the first cycle was, the first cycle, they told me I had cancer, and that was stage 4, and that I was going to be dead in 3 to 6 weeks. And this time they didn't say which stage you had, didn't they? In the end, they said that their goal was to heal me, and that was, you know, I think they should do more researches on what, from the beginning, from what the doctor tells the patient, because if the doctor tells a patient you got 3 to 6 weeks to live, I firmly believe that the patient accepts that, then they prepare their body to shut down, and then in 3 to 6 weeks, the body in line with what they're feeling and what the doctor tells them, because that's what they believe. And at the first time, I looked all over my body. There was no expiration date. I literally looked, and I go, "There's no expiration date on me. You know, I'm not gonna take their death sentence, and I'm gonna live." And I did. And you know, that mental mindset is part of the positivity that helps us believe that we're going to make it, and it's all part of along with the Western medicine, and along with our traditional medicines and our traditional beliefs, it's what got me through it.
Awesome. So he never said you're in stage whatever, and we didn't ask. Like, we just focused on, and our goal is to heal you from cancer. You know, I don't remember if he used that word heal, but he said our goal is to
well, he did use that word.
Okay, is to heal you. Yeah. So that's like he said, and so this was like around 10:30ish or whatever on a Thursday morning, and he said, I go, okay, well, like, what's next then? And he goes, well, go home, pack your bags, and be back here by 4 o'clock. So we're like, okay, so then what happened?
We come home, the boys are getting, all, like I said, the meat's all thawed out, and it needs to be grinded. So I said, well, we gotta stop and get the pork shoulder, because the boys are gonna have to finish what I started. And you know, my hands are up to them, because they processed 100 pounds of meat, and it's, you know, we mostly live off of our stuff that the forest and Mother Earth provides for us, and not Fred Meyer's or Safeway.
So we came home, and like we're getting all this stuff ready for the boys to grind the meat, and then, like he said, our washer broke down.
So we had to go to the laundromat.
We had to go to the laundromat to do laundry, to pack our bags for a month. It it was just this crazy afternoon. So I'm at the laundromat, and he's like, and I have my work laptop, and I'm like sitting at the laundromat, waiting to go into the hospital to support Will, doing emails, letting people know, hey, I'm gonna be, you know, in the hospital for a month with Will, doing our laundry at the laundromat. And then what?
Well, I think you had a little episode at the laundromat too, so I recall that. You go, ooh, I'm at the laundromat. I don't know if you remember that or not, but
Yeah, it was a crazy day.
it was a crazy day.
So we
you know,
packed our bags, and then we went down to the hospital, and it was boom, boom, boom. Like, we got there at 4. He did all the paperwork. He got into his room.
They hooked me up with an IV before I got to my room, and then I
Yeah.
had chemo going before I had a bed. So, but like my hands are up to all the staff at OSHU, and I just appreciate them so much.
Yeah. So we got, he was on this floor,
14th floor.
the 14th floor. It's called the Night Cancer Institute, and it's for like blood cancers. All the patients on that floor are for blood cancers. And so we got into our room, and yeah, I think we got into the room like by 5 p.m. and then by 5:15, like they came in like double gowned and double gloved and double masks to come in and like bring in the chemo and the arsenic. Arsenic was one of the things that he had, and by 5:15, boom, he was starting his treatment. I was just like blown away by all of that. So it was that part was amazing. So what about the care? Like, you want to talk a little bit about the care that you received in the hospital?
You know, from the first time I had cancer to now, it's like laughter is good medicine, and that your positivity is contagious, and how you feel is like being aware of your own energy, so when people come in, they don't feel like they're in a thick fog or anything like that. So when the nurses came in, like me and Jillene are both positive, and we have positive energy that we put out, and the nurses on cancer floors, they're limited to three shifts with you in a week, so they don't become attached. Like, keeping,
All right.
you know, being up there, you would hear a patient come in the middle of the night, and that's when I would do my walking. I did a lot of walking when I was in there, and the doctors encourage you to walk because our bones make our blood, and the stronger that you are, so they encourage you to get up and do a lot of walking. But I would get up and do my walking, and I'd notice a new patient coming in. Then I'd get up the next day and walk, and then I empty it.
And their room would be empty. Yeah. It was a floor that the patients couldn't leave the floor, so that when they're there for a month, like they're there for a month. It's kind of like this quarantine was like no sweat. Like he already done that, we already done that, and so the patients couldn't leave the floor, and all the patients had to wear a mask like all the time. That's how you knew who the patients were on that floor, because they couldn't leave. And then of course they're all at different stages of how they're feeling and how they're looking with no hair or stuff like that. So the patients were easily identifiable, and it was a floor of healing, and then the flip side of that too, it was also a floor of death. I think that's what he's kind of feeling and describing, and what we saw, like literally, every day kind of sometimes. And so that this particular hospital takes people from all over the region, all over the country, really. And so for us to even get in and get a room, oh, thanks. Can you get some water too? Thanks. So for us to even get a room, like by that, we found out later, like how blessed we were for that to happen. And then there was an interesting time there, so everyone had a separate room, and then there was two common areas where people could go and have visitors or things like that. He could only have like two visitors at a time. And so we were down in the living room part, and there was some other patients down there. Thank you. There were some other patients down there, and they were complaining. So we were just sitting there, and these other patients came. And do you want to tell about that?
No, you got. You're a much better storyteller.
No, my gosh. So we're sitting there, and it's this amazing view. We felt like so the 14th floor, and we're on a hill anyway.
And we got lucky and got the side with the water view, and to me, to be around water is just, it's growing up around the water and then having a room with a view of the water. I was just, that added to my healing, and I was just blessed because of that.
Yeah, it was this awesome view of the river and Mount Hood. We could see all these mountains, and it was pretty awesome. And so we were in this living room part. We were just sitting there, and these other patients came in with their spouses, and so two of the couples were talking, but we weren't a part of the conversation, but we were literally right there, so we were hearing it, and they were complaining about their rooms because they were told that they were going to get a river view room, but they didn't. Their side, they looked out to buildings, and they were complaining, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're sitting here complaining, and I couldn't take it anymore. So I had to say something, and I just said, well, we're just really grateful that we have a room at all. We would have taken a closet to come here and receive the care, that we're getting. And then that's all I said, and then I was quiet, and then the lady finally goes, she paused for a long time, and then she finally said, oh, well, yeah, we're grateful too. But anyway, it was a beautiful room, and we told people when they came to visit, they would come into our room and say, welcome to our penthouse suite. Because that's what we felt like, we were in this penthouse suite, because it was so beautiful. So what else about the care that helped you?
Well, one of the things I strongly remember, like with our traditions and our beliefs, is when Jordan came.
Mm-hmm.
From the side effects of the chemo and everything, it's really hard to eat and that kind of stuff. So,
or keep it down.
Or keep it down when you was able to eat. And after they came, no little kids were allowed to come in. So when Jordan and Amanda came, they had to take turns coming up. So Jordan came up, then Amanda came up, and then when Jordan was down with their daughter, with Isla, he goes, I'm gonna.
Well, right when Amanda came in, Will was actually on the side of his bed, and he had a tub because he had the dry heaves, because it would, he would throw up sometimes, because that was one of the side effects, as he said. So it's right as she came in, he's like, I won't do it, gross you all out, but he's like dry heaving into this bucket, and she's just kind of like, oh, and she came in, and then we visited for a little bit, and then she left, and when she left, she was telling Jordan, that Will was, gonna throw up or whatever, and so he sang this song. He went out on this little deck part outside the hospital, and he sang this song, and he recorded it, and then they came up and gave it to us, and so when they sat up, so there was like a bed, and then there was like a little couch over here. This is where I slept. And when they, so he was back in bed, and they played he was still on the side of his bed, and they played that song on the phone. and the dry heaves stopped like that, like literally, like the dry heaves just stopped like that, and then he kept his food down, and
whenever I would start to get nauseated again, I'd have her play that song, and it's but like our traditions and our belief systems, our songs are medicine, and it's we're re-gifting them as we relearn them, as we're reintroducing ourselves to our culture nowadays, and it was good medicine and proven to me. It's like if there was a study that could be done, that would have been pretty cool, but
it doesn't matter about the study.
Yeah, it's like living proof that our songs are medicine, and I just appreciate that so much. So
yeah, so thank you again, Jordan, Amanda, and Isla, for that. so that became a part of the medicine routine. Like when I would see him starting to feel sick or whatever, then I go through my phone and get that song, and then I would play it for him. There was other people, our friend Jefferson Green came by, and he did the same. He sang some songs, and I asked him, can I record these, for later? And he said, yeah. So him and his son sang, and I recorded those, so we use those too. If he started feeling bad or had a really bad headache or whatever, then we would play that song, and that became the medicine. And then we had people, sing live, like would come to his room and sing live, and the nurses, like the other patients, because they didn't hold back, like, echoing through the whole floor. Anyway.
Oh, Jillene.
Oh. So that was one of the awesome things. And so what else, like?
It's one of the things I always say is hashtag it takes a village, and our small little village we were so blessed to have, and they came. When they came, they brought foods and just their blessings with their time and that they spend with us, and we were so blessed to have that community. And when you have those positive people around you, it's all collective.
Mm-hmm.
As your healing team, and we're, like I said, we're so blessed to have that, and they're part of the support team as well, and I just appreciate you all so much. And one of the things I always tell the people the support group that I'm part of was to be open to receive the prayers that people are praying for you, and there's people praying all over the world, and one of our friends is a special person, and she has the ability to see things other people can't, and to ask angels for help. Angels are there.
Yeah.
And your ancestors do ask them for help, and they're going to help you even without you asking, and it's just like being open to receive their blessings and their help is part of it too. So.
Mm-hmm. And so speaking of people praying for him around the world, like literally, this one night, it was like midnight, and after 10 p.m. they shut off the phones in your room, so like no one can call the hospital phone. And that's just to help people sleep or whatever, so they're not hearing phones ring. But it was like midnight, we were both still up, and I would work during the day, and I would like bead at night.
Oh yeah, because I was getting ready for Jillene's graduation from.
Yeah, we were getting ready for this giveaway, and so I was like beading every night and making gifts and stuff. So we were up late all the time, and plus he was up late because he couldn't sleep good or whatever. And so it was like midnight, and this nurse comes rushing, like flying into the room. The door flies open, and she rushes in. Just, did your phone ring? And we're like, no. She goes, oh, that's right, they're shut off. She goes, okay, hold on. And then she runs back out, and we're just like, what is going on? And then she runs back in. She goes, did your phone ring? And we're like, no. She goes, okay, hold on. She runs back out. We're just like, I wonder what's going on. And then she comes back in with her cell phone, like her personal cell phone. And she said, like, the Prime Minister is calling from Australia. And we started laughing because we knew exactly who it was. It wasn't the Prime Minister, but it was our good friend Joe Day. And so he was, of course, it's a different time, whatever time it was in Australia. And so she had him call her personal cell phone so she could bring it in, and so he could talk, so that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was a huge blessing, having friends from all over just calling in and checking on you, and my hands were up. My love for Brother Joe, and just he's an amazing guy, and the next day it was comical because you'd had all these, because when the nurses give their report, she obviously told them, well, we got a special guest because he got a call from the Prime Minister's house, right? So Prime Minister Joe.
Well, I don't know what Joe said, or maybe they couldn't understand his accent or something, but it was funny. So I remember when we first got into the room, and it was a really nice room. I thought it was big, and even though it really wasn't. But so his bed, and then like this little couch, and then there's a little whiteboard right here. And on the whiteboard, our theme going in was Will is number one. That was one of our themes. And so up on that whiteboard, I wrote this circle, and then I divided it into 4 equal parts. And then at the top of the circle, I wrote Will is number one. And then at the bottom of the circle, I wrote live in balance. And then at the very bottom were just like all the daily hashtags of day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, marking it all.
And it said, where there's a will, there's a way.
Oh yeah, that was our other theme. Where there's a will, there's a way. And that's what I would tell people. It's like, well, I have a will, so I know there's a way. But the will is number one part. Part of the reason we wanted to do this show today is because we know there's a lot of people, even now in the middle of a pandemic and all of the stuff that's going on, that are still dealing with cancer. And we wanted to just tell his story, and every cancer story is different, right, for every single human being. But we just wanted to give some of the tips and tools that helped him. And we certainly know that people may do all these things and they still may pass away from cancer. Like we recognize that, and have had family members, and good friends in that same situation. And we pay respects to that. But we wanted to offer this story just because it is a story of hope, and it's a story of healing. And so one of the reasons why we wrote Will is number one is because, Will is such a caring person, and he's always caring for others. And when we went in there into the hospital, I told him, forget about everyone. Like, forget about me. Forget about, worrying about any other human being except yourself. Like, every ounce of your energy and thoughts have to go into your own healing. You have to make yourself number one and not worry about anybody else. So that was the daily thing that was on our board. When he'd wake up in the morning, he would see that board first thing, and it would say, Will is number one. So that was a tool or strategy, I guess. And then I remember, so the Thursday we went in, he started his treatments. Friday morning, the first team of, doctors and like 5 people rolled into his room. The doctor and nurses and I don't know who, I can't remember who else. Anyway, 5 people rolled in, and they're all, asking him the questions again, and, poking and prodding and, doing all this kind of stuff. And then they looked up at the board and they saw that stuff that was up there. And so the doctor, his name is Dr. Trayer, the one that I call Bobby Flay, he said, he looked at that and he said, what is that? And so I explained it to him, and I just said, this just represents his whole well-being. It represents his physical well-being, his mental well-being, his emotional well-being, and his spiritual well-being. And I said, what he is doing and what I'm helping him doing and what our family and friends are helping him doing is to focus on the spiritual, the mental, and the emotional. And I said, and what you and your team are doing is helping the physical through these medicines and, all of this. And together, we're all helping Will to heal.
One of my daily routines was thanking the medicine for helping me heal, helping it to do its job to heal my body. And that's with the foods and the medicines and the water was part of my daily routine, and I think that was part of it too. So
yeah, so gratitude, right?
Yeah, and it's like bizarre because it's like you're thinking arsenic, something that if you don't have cancer is going to kill you, and it's like that keeping that positive mindset, and it's like when the nurses would come in, we'd just be joking around and go, all right, another nurse on the house. Wasn't on the house.
Yeah. So that gratitude, I think, is really important. And so after I explained that thing to the doctor, and he just smiled and he shook his head and he goes, I like that. I like that. So that was really cool. And all of the staff, like, do you want to share, like, all of the staff, the people that came in and cleaned your room, like, you want to share a little bit about that?
It was just like I said, when you go into a room, when you have that positive energy, you're just uplifted automatically, and all the staff that came in there, from the people who cleaned up and took out the trash, they were just so super nice and so supportive, and the nurses were bummed when it was their time to rotate, and because they would just stop in and check on me because that they just like to feel that positive energy when you're in it, when you're in a room, instead of, because a lot of especially with a lot of cancer patients, they just got that doom and gloom, and so when you go in that room, there's just that heaviness, and it's just. And the first, I noticed that the first time I had cancer, you could just see the heaviness in the room, that the people would believe what their doctors told them. They'd get their bodies ready to shut down, and it's like, if you don't accept that and accept something else to be your future, and you live for that, that's the key. And it's not believing what the doctor tells you, and it's keeping that positive mindset. And it's having that positive mindset just for your family members, even because you don't want them to be their last memories of you to be sobbing and crying. You want to have positive memories, and that's all part of it too. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. And Will talked about our support circle, and our friends and family that would cook for us and bring us stuff, and our snacks, I think probably we all know how it is being in the hospital for long periods of time, and so we couldn't bring coolers into our room, but we had bags of snacks and all this kind of stuff. And then I couldn't use the bathroom that he used because he was like toxic with all these chemicals inside of him. But they had showers and stuff for family members in another part of the floor. So I would meet family members from the other patients, and I got to know this one woman. And her husband was in there, and she didn't have the luxury to stay there with him. She'd have to go home and take care of her family, and then, come back and forth. And so she would come back in, and they were struggling with money and all kinds of stuff. And so, like, when we would have extra snacks, we would like put together bags for them, and we'd go deliver it to her, and they were just so grateful, and that was awesome.
And one of the other things was at the beginning they tell you what meds you're going to be on and what to expect, and they told me that from the chemo and the arsenic that my hair would fall out, and one of the things, and along with that gratitude, I told my hair I appreciated it, and I also told my hair that it didn't need to listen to what the doctors and the nurses said about falling out. I told my hair that it could stay in if it wanted to. And I believe that, and having that gratitude for my hair, and my hair didn't fall out, and the first time I didn't have that belief system, and my hair fell out, and but this time I did, because because I'm here, and I didn't believe what the doctors told me. So this time I told my hair not to fall out, and I believed it, and it listened. And a lot of times walking around, the other patients are going, "What are you doing here? You're too healthy to be here. You shouldn't be here."
Because he was the only one that had hair, or like all the other patients had hats on, or
I'd have a mask on, be walking around, and I'm glad to say that it's part of, you can be on a pity pot and just woe is me, but to get up and do what the doctors tell you to do, and have that movement, I was, I think, 2 miles shy of doing 2 marathons while I was in my 1 month stay at the hospital. And you know, I had that extra energy because they give you steroids at the beginning just to help you to get up and do what you're supposed to do. And so I used that energy to you know, for a positive thing, and it's like I think that helped quite a bit too.
And when he would do his laps, sometimes I would go with him, and he would he would pass the patients, because that's pretty much all they can do is like be in their room or walk, or they had craft classes and stuff.
Oh
like
yeah. Thanks for having the craft classes, because I made a lot of bracelets for that.
Yeah. But he would do his laps. So 11 laps was a mile. So he'd done a lot of laps. But when he would pass the other patients, and he would say things like, "Oh, healing looks good on you today." And I remember the first time he said that to a guy, and the guy just looked at him like, "What are you talking about?" You know, because he probably didn't feel very good, you know. And then they would ask him, like, "What are you in here for?" You know, because some people had walkers, or like, you know, walking really slow with their handrail, and there's Will with his, you know, Bigfoot socks on, doing his laps.
Carrying my pole when I had my IVs in, and just doing my thing.
Yeah, he'd draw a duck on his mask, or these crazy things like that. So
yeah, also it looked like a little duck bill.
The masks did, yeah. So what else do you want to share about? Well, maybe we can move on to after. So we only have like 10 minutes or so left.
Wow.
So we were there for a month. Actually, we got to get out a few days earlier, because our youngest was graduating from high school, and then Jillene was graduating with her master's degree right after that. So we were just like, oh my gosh, how are we going to make all this work? And so we told the staff, and they actually let us out a few days early so he could make Shadrin's graduation. And so that was pretty awesome. So we were in there for a month. He received treatments every day, and then after that, what did your treatments look like?
After that, well, you still have to go on chemo, and I was on IV chemo and a pill form of chemo every day, twice a day, and but I'd get IV chemo Monday through Friday, and 2 days we're at up on the hill. Then the other time got to be here locally in Gresham, and you know, I was blessed by, you know, with our support team, that every time I had to go in, I had somebody with me, and it's so your support team is so part of your healing journey, and they're there with you. They're taking the time out of their daily schedule, and they came in and sat with me and brought me to my appointments, and like I said, I was just so blessed, because a lot of it, and it's crazy how many patients have cancer, and they go there, they're all by themselves, and to me it hurts, because, you know, they didn't come into this world all by themselves. But I understand, but we have lives, and we have jobs, and we have bills to pay. But I was just so fortunate to have somebody there with me every single step of the way, and it's just part of the blessing. And so from like with Robin, and when they were in town, he would bring me. I even had brother Joe, our Prime Minister from Australia. He came over and visited for a little bit. He came and sat with me both at the Gresham office and up on the hill, and that was just a blessing too. And you know, just being so blessed by that, and it's all part of the healing collective, and it's just, you know, I'm just one of the things I appreciate.
Awesome. So he did that for a year. It was like a week on, a week off, a week on, a week off, for a year of still healing from cancer. And so after that year, what was it like the day that you got the call with the news?
It was we was at a healing event, and I always say that there's no coincidences, and we was at the round dance,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, at the round dance at Grand Ron, and they said your results are going to be available. We just kept calling and probably being a nuisance to them, but.
Because they were calling us and we like couldn't wait.
Yeah, and then when I was talking about this nurse, and she goes, well, I really hate being the bearer of bad news, but this I just love sharing good news, so I'm not supposed to tell you this. So when the doctor calls you, you tell him you didn't hear it from me. So this nurse that she gave us the results on March 8th.
Over the phone,
and it was just another emotional day, but all part of the care and the blessings that, and like I said, having that support team and then being at that place with that going on, we got to share it with everybody that was here, so.
So we were at this round dance, like he said, and it was a Friday that he heard the news, and it was a youth gathering during the day. So there was just lots of people there, and it was kind of like in between before the round dance was starting, and we didn't get the call yet. So we went outside and we sat in the car to call them to get the news, and so he called and got the news over the phone, and. We celebrated in the car, and then we came back in. Of course, our eyes are all red from crying, tears of gratitude. And so everybody knew, like, almost immediately when they saw us. And then we told them the news, and we all got to celebrate together with all of our friends. And then that night at the round dance, we got to go up there and share the news with everyone, and that was pretty awesome too. Really super special, actually. Yeah. And actually this year we were making gifts and stuff because we were going to go back to the round dance and like just offer some gifts to people, and then the pandemic hit and the round dance got canceled. So we'll do that some other time down the road. So with our final time, I want to just back up a little bit. When we were in the hospital for the month, even before that, when we were still waiting, like for his test results to say, what was wrong or whatever, our little granddaughter, who's 3 now, she was 1 then, and it was like, and they have this really close bond and relationship anyway. She calls him Papa, and she always wants her Papa, and but she would come over, and you know how most 1-year-olds are running around, whatever, and she would just sit on his lap.
And she would just share her energy with me, and it was like she knew I needed that.
Mm-hmm. Like for hours, she would just sit still, like for hours at a time. It was really something, yeah. And I still think, and they still have that bond today, and so I think that's so special. So when we were in the hospital and kids weren't allowed on the floor, and the reason, because his immune system was so low, right, pretty much like gone. And so like if you were sick or anything like that, you couldn't come, because kids always have a lot of germs because they're touching everything. Kids weren't allowed on the floor. And so when he was a few weeks in, maybe 3 weeks in or so, we asked the doctors if it would be okay if she came to this like little outside living room area. So it's literally right outside the door of the floor. And then they gave approval to do that. So she got to come up, and so that was pretty awesome. And she did the same thing again, just sat in his lap and just sat there. So it was pretty awesome. So she continues to be his good medicine as well. So yeah, so it was quite the journey. Lots of like teachings and lessons along the way, and lots of prayers. We know people would come up and pray with him. People from all different faiths and belief systems, and we accepted them all. We accepted all prayers and songs and everything. It was just really amazing, and we're we're forever grateful for everyone who took the time to pray and to visit and to call and text and all of that. It was pretty amazing. So Will, you're let's see, March, April, May, June, July. You're a year and 4 months into your second championship, I call it. What are some final things that you would like to share about, like, the things that you learned, or the things that you would like to share with other families or other people that might be going through this as well?
The power of positivity, the power of the healing of laughter, the healing of generosity, the power of generosity, and all the medicines that our teachings are, and just be grounded. And just because the doctors tell you, I constantly say I was blessed with my doctor. I truly believe that my doctor's heart is in the right spot, but there's a lot of doctors that are just out there that are just going through the system. They're just punching the clock, and they're funded by big pharma, so they push all these things, and they give you these sentences, and you as an individual don't have to take those sentences, and you get to be in control. You get to say what happens to your body. Along with the Western medicine, your belief systems is what's going to get you through these hard times, and it's all part of our teachings. No matter what our culture backgrounds are, it's all part, like healing. Healing is not a destination; it's a journey, and it does take a village. It's just like raising a youngster, and it does take a village. So be open to receive the blessings from your community. Be open to receive the blessings from people you don't even know. And it's like, and my hands are up to all the people who give blood.
Awesome. Thank you, Will. Well, we're glad that you're here.
And what on Facebook, they always have these forward things and all these things, and I always say, I don't forward those things, but I just ask that you give blood. And for all those people out there, especially during this time, they have special precautions in place. They scrub everything down, everything's all sterilized. And if you need something to do, and if you're down, especially with this time, because like these, there's places that pay you for plasma, and so it's an opportunity to help somebody out and to get something beneficial in return. So give plasma if you can, and give blood if you can, and my hands are up to you.
Thank you, Will. And I think, but we just hope that you receive some inspiration from his story. Like, these are happy tears, because we're glad that he healed. We're glad that he healed, and we're super just grateful for everyone that helped. And we know that, it was his mind, it was the medicines, it was his belief system, it was the prayers, like it was just everything that it was like this perfect storm that contributed to his healing, and we're grateful. So we hope that you were inspired by his story, and I think the bigger picture too is like Will is like this awesome example of someone who like doesn't sweat the small stuff. Like when you hear that saying, like Will doesn't sweat the small stuff, because he knows how precious life is, and he doesn't hold on to resentment and anger and all of that kind of stuff, right? He knows the power of those emotions, and he knows how precious life is and how precious the relationships in life is. So he just lets that go like that. And that's how powerful we are and we can be, right? And he's a living example of that. He inspires me. So thank you for tuning in to our daily Native Wellness Power Hour. We come on every day at the same time, 9 a.m. Hawaii, 11 a.m. Alaska, noon Pacific, 1 Mountain, 2 Central, 3 Eastern, and you can check if you're whatever part of the world that you're in. I don't even remember what the rest of our programming is this week at the moment. But I know on Friday, we have one of our young people that attended our Wellness Warrior Camp. She's 18 years old, and Butterfly Rain is her name, and she's going to talk about animal conservation. She's going to have her animals there with us, so that's going to be pretty awesome. So please tune in. All of our past sessions, you can find them on our Facebook page, and you can also find them on our YouTube channel, the Native Wellness Institute's YouTube channel. We're now in week 16, so this is like our 106th or something like that Power Hour. We didn't really have a time frame in mind when we started. We're not sure how long we're going to go, but we're just going with it.
Hands up to the Indian Collective, and especially with what's going on, and we're just blessed to have them as our sponsor. And what Jillene was talking about at the beginning, check out what they got going on, and their executive director took one for the team. So.
You got arrested, yeah. So anyway, thanks for being here. We hope you have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week. Tune in tomorrow. And
remember, when you're out in public, put your mask on and wear your gloves. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Social distance. All right. Take care. Have an awesome day. Thank you.